Welcome to Last Call Games. Now, last week, a certain video game character turned 35. Very important. So, this week, we're going to do all Pac-Man games all week. Now, I'm going to use the same video as the intro for all of them, so that's why. I'll do little annotations over each one for a link to the next video. Monday, we're going to start out with the Namco plug-and-play Pac-Man game. This includes Pac-Man and 4 other games. This came out in, I believe, 2003. It was one of the very first of the TV plug-and-play genre. That's a thing. Tuesday, we're going to move on to Pac-Man Adventures in Time for the personal computer. I believe this was a PC exclusive, but I'll let you know more obviously in the review for it itself. Wednesday, we're going to move on to Ms. Pac-Man. This is another plug-and-play unit by Jakks Pacific. It's a sequel and included Ms. Pac-Man and 4 different games, including Pole Position, which included this interesting twist mechanic. I'll talk about that later in the video itself, obviously. Stay tuned for that one. Thursday, we'll move on to Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness for the Sega Dreamcast, because it wouldn't be a week without a Sega Dreamcast game. Finally, we'll end up on Friday with yet another plug-and-play unit, Super Pac-Man, which includes 4 different Pac-Man games. Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, Pac and Pal, and I believe Pac-Man Plus. Including also has this little joystick that's shaped like Pac-Man. Not sure how well that shows up. It'll show up better in the video itself, in the review. So, stay tuned, and now we're going to start on to the actual review itself. Pac-Man Week continues today with Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness on the Sega Dreamcast. Now, I believe this might have been the only Pac-Man game released on the Dreamcast, not counting the Namco Museum release. And, well, it actually has a lot of similarities to Adventures in Time, which I reviewed on Monday for the PC. Basically, the story of this game is you're playing as Ms. Pac-Man, hence the name, and you're going around in various distinct areas. I don't think it's time travel in this one. It's not really properly described, but you go around and you collect various parts, or I think various gems it is in this one, and not parts of a power pellet in the other one. But the gameplay is very similar, the same kind of maze structure type deal like the other one did. It's still good. I mean, I liked Pac-Man Adventures in Time, and I like this one too. But it's definitely got a lot of similarities to the game I played before, even though this one I think is slightly older by like a few months. This one apparently also includes the original arcade game. So let's take a look at some gameplay and get some final thoughts. I'm going to keep this relatively short now because a lot of this is stuff I said in my earlier Pac-Man review. Adventures in Time. Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness is a maze-style game like the original Pac-Man games, but with 3D polygonal characters. They look really weird in the menu. Ms. Pac-Man looks kind of like she's like glitching out, and it's really weird, but whatever. There's a story. You're basically finding gems to stop some evil deity, magician, woman, whatever. Again, nobody really plays a Pac-Man game for the story. Now, the gameplay is pretty good, actually. You go through various areas of a maze, opening doors and stuff. It's a little bit more detailed than the Adventures in Time game I played on Tuesday. And that's pretty much it. You go through the maze until you get to the end of the level, and then you go on to the next one. Now, unlike the Adventures in Time one, collecting all the dots isn't actually the main goal. You don't need to collect every single dot in order to, or every single power pellet, in order to finish the level. But still, really basic, tried and true gameplay that works pretty well, I have to say. The game looks pretty good for a 2000s Dreamcast game. The gameplay, when you actually get into the game, it looks really good. The cartoony style for most anything seems to age much better than when they go for realism. The sound is also pretty good. The same set of sound effects from the similar sound effects to the arcade game, at least. There's multiplayer mode. I didn't try that either. And it's really just a pretty well put together game. So let's go back and take a look at get some final thoughts and a score. So Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness, as I said, it includes a lot of similarities to the game I reviewed earlier. Of course, I played that one first, so that's why this one seems derivative. If I had done it the other way around, the other game would have been derivative. It's the nature of the beast. But, as I said, it's got a lot going for it. It looks good, it has the same good gameplay as you should expect by now. It says it's 3D, but it's more of 2D with 3D models. They look a little weird in the menu, but that's something completely different. So, I gave this game a 7 out of 10. I think it's only fair that Ms. Pac-Man also gets a 7 out of 10. They're both very good games, and depending on which system you have, this one also came out on the PS2 or the PS1. And I think there was a Game Boy Color version, but it was completely different because it's a Game Boy. But regardless, stay tuned for tomorrow. We'll be reviewing the Super Pac-Man unit. And remember, there's still time to support the Beardathon for charity. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time on Last Call Games. So, if you're a big Pac-Man fan and you're watching Pac-Man Week, you probably are. I would say give this one a go if you see it for not that much cash. I would give